Good morning. This is Bob from the Higher Way podcast, and I've got someone all the way from Germany this morning. I was going to say he's a friend of mine. I hope we will become friends. But he's essentially my mentor trainer with the Cateran Society, which, as some of you know, I've been getting myself heavily involved in European martial arts. So without further ado, I won't go in any more of that. I just want to welcome Heiko Grosse from Germany. How are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm fine. Thank you very much. How are you?
I'm good. You've got your coffee. I
Yes,
have my English tea.
Yes, of course.
And we can start this conversation, because that's what I want it to be, Heiko. The usual question is, you know, how did you get involved in this crazy world of martial arts and edged weapons? How did that all start?
Yeah, I think quite typically, like many young children, I started to be interested in martial arts movies, watching the Karate Kid, wanting to be able to kick bullies' asses. And then, of course, there was already in the beginning quite a big interest in history and historical weapons also.
Yeah.
So this was the kind of the start, and my father and my brother, they joined a karate dojo, and I was joining sometime later. So my first martial art I trained was as a young kid, as a teenager, was karate. Yeah.
Ah, okay. What style was it? Shotokan or Wado-ryu?
I think it was Shotokan karate,
Yeah.
but the sensei, the instructor, he was quite experienced in many different styles. So I think he mixed it up a little bit, especially when it came to self-defense and kumite. So,
oh, of course, yeah. So and that was what age was that? What, 12, 13, something like that? 14?
Yeah, I think so, like 11 or 12 or something like that.
Yeah, because you're not very old, are you?
No, I'm 41. I'm 41.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So I may be a little bit older than I look, but I'm not that old yet.
No, those years are yet to come. So you got into traditional sort of Japanese martial arts, I guess. So
yeah.
How did you make the transition from sort of Japanese Eastern arts to European weapons and European systems? How did that happen?
That it happened over many years, because I was very much into the kendo world. So I was doing Japanese fencing for 10 years.
Oh, wow.
And
okay.
Did it quite intense. So starting in 1999,
yeah.
Right after my my military service in the German Navy, you know, where you have to do your duty service of 10 months. They don't have it anymore, but back then it was still, you still had to do it after school.
Okay.
And then I joined a kendo club, a local kendo club, because I was already quite hooked with swordsmanship. So I love martial arts, all kind of martial arts, European, Eastern, without weapons, with weapons. But back then already the sword was already the one thing I really wanted to do. And so I found a kendo club nearby in a town near my hometown. And I joined that, and I was within that for 10 years, taking part in tournaments and whatnot. And I got hooked with European martial arts, as many before me, through the internet.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, because you know, joining the first martial arts forums, there was always a little section about HEMA, and I was always looking into that. And of course, then first people started to post YouTube videos of their training and German longsword and whatnot. And I thought, yeah, this is interesting. So the first step was actually when I saw pictures of Joachim Meyer's treatise.
Oh, yeah,
the fencing master, with a longsword. And my first thought as a kendoka back then was, oh, that looks cool. That looks a little bit like kendo. Yeah. So that was the start. And then slowly I started to train other things next to kendo. So kendo was still the main art, but I was starting to, you know, check out a self-defense class and joining a boxing group for 2 years, and you know, always going to 1 week to another martial art to learn more, because I realized, okay, kendo is great. It's a great martial art. It's a great style of swordsmanship, but I wanted to do more. And back then I was already quite interested in this kind of pre-war kendo, so the old style of kendo where things were still allowed, which are today prohibited in kendo. So like foot leg sweeps, and you see the old YouTube, you see YouTube videos of old film footage of Japanese soldiers training in the 1930s, and you see those guys are fighting with shinai against the bayonet, and they're rushing into each other, and then comes a judo hip throw, and then they have ground fighting, try to get off each other's helmets. And that was the kind of fighting I wanted to do. So swordsmanship with everything, and kendo did not have that anymore. So when I started to check out the forums, I was also invited to an open sparrings meeting, which was once a month for all styles, which was organized by a local Dog Brothers training group.
Okay, the Dog Brothers, yeah.
And we became good friends, and they had, well, it was this kind of small group of crazy people trying out everything. So kendo versus eskrima. I think this not very good videos has still over 1 million clicks, and the people are still discussing about how Filipinos chopped off heads of Japanese soldiers in the Second World War. So it's crazy. My friend from back then, he said, they are still discussing about that. We did that for fun, you know, a guy with double sticks and me as a kendoka. And this was kind of crazy crossover fights. And there I started to make my first own homemade single stick out of a rattan stick, and with a very, you know, I had something from the kitchen as a plastic handguard covering leather, quite cheap, and I was using some children Viking shield to make my own first targe. And I was starting with that because I saw videos of people training Scottish swordsmanship, and of course there were the videos of the Cateran Society already. Yeah, and so I was starting next to my kendo experimenting with this kind of fighting style with the broadsword. So this was a slow progress sneaking into my life. And then in 2009, I finally decided to say, okay, I give it a go. I stopped kendo. I cannot do both. I have to work shift and yeah, and you know, I was married and I had my first kid, so I knew I don't have the money and the time to train both. And so I, you know, jumped in the cold water and said, okay, I give it a try. I will work through the Cateran Society online program because I got into contact with Chris Thompson. I was just asking, I think, a message or a YouTube comment about the training weapons they used. And then he contacted me and we were chatting a little bit, and he invited me to take part in the Cateran Society online system. And this is where it started. And then after like 2 years doing both for myself and going to kendo training, then my brother finally said he would join because he did kendo. He also did kendo, and we were talking about this, and he said he would join. And I said, okay, now I have a training partner. Okay, let's do it. And then we worked through the program, and this was the beginning of all.
And this is where it all started. And I believe now you're the president of the Cateran Society.
Yes. I think that since 2016, Chris said he wanted to step back, and he was not declaring me his successor. He was. We have the Cateran councils, so all Caterans are in a council and discussing these things. And he was saying, okay, Heiko would be my choice to follow me as the president and head instructor of the Cateran Society. He said he would do it. Cateran Council, what do you say? And all said aye. All were happy with the decision, and I'm very grateful that they decided like that. So now I can call myself Mr. President.
Hello. So do I have to call you Mr. President then?
You can call me Crazy.
Okay, I'll do that. So let's go back a little bit, because you were talking about all of the different things that you were involved in. And you were talking about those really old videos that are still, you know, that go way back to the early days of YouTube and these films that these guys were making. Because people think of mixed martial arts as being a new phenomenon. I mean, I know that they're not. I mean, I know back in the 70s when I was training in karate with my instructor, we were putting gloves on, we were mixing it up with knives and edged weapons, and we grabbed some guys from a local kendo club to tell us, you know, attack us and we'll see what we can do. And the mixed martial arts is not new, is it? It's not something new. It's something that people have been doing for a millennia, probably. It probably goes way back to the Greeks, you know, with pancration. And obviously, you know, if you're looking for something effective, and this is my other big criticism of modern martial arts, a lot of the martial arts are, and we were talking about this earlier, they're simply there to make a quick buck, you know, to make some money for the, not all, but quite a lot of them. And the efficacy, the efficiency of the art they're selling, if you like, is less than good. Do you think, you know, people like yourself and myself have an important place in the martial arts still? Or, because I've heard us being called dinosaurs, you know, sort of like, why do you mix these things up? What right do you have to mix these things up? How would you answer that sort of criticism if somebody said that? I get it all the time.
Well, the good thing is in my case that I don't have to teach martial arts to make a living. So no. I always had the dream, like many of us, but to be realistic, especially with historical European martial arts, there are some who are full-time HEMA instructors.
Yeah.
But I know that is not quite easy. I mean, it's already difficult to teach a more modern or Eastern martial arts and make a living out of it. Without being this kind, what you said, this kind of McDojo selling crap to people to have a lot of customers, not really students. And I think that's a big problem today, that many martial arts instructors want to make money. And of course, everybody has to pay bills. It's totally okay to make a living out of martial arts, but they want to make a lot of money and very quickly. And I already met those guys, and they are always focused on making a very quick coin. Yeah. And then they're totally forgetting the art itself. And I think if someone would ask me this question, I would say the good thing is with historical martial arts, no one owns them. And I think even though we have associations in other martial arts and we have clubs and head associations and whatnot, I would say no martial art is earned by anyone, really. It's a kind of physical expression, and everyone has a different idea what he wants to do with it. Some are totally focused on self-defense, others are totally focused on combat sports to win competitions, and I think this question is not even worth an answer, because someone wants to implicate something, you know. And so I say, for me, it was never a problem, because I think good martial artist, no matter if he is traditional or European or modern combat sport, a good fighter, a good martial artist, especially an instructor, is always open-minded and always wants to learn. He always wants to learn. He never stops learning. He never says like, I mean, we know we have these guys. I'm grandmaster of whatever, and no one has to explain me anything anymore. I'm not interested in this crap, and I'm not interested in this crap, because my crap is the best shit in town. Yeah, and now pay me something because I just taught you the secret technique.
Yeah.
I think that's the wrong way. That is not what martial arts are about.
No, I mean, I totally agree with you. You know, they're sort of lording it around. I mean, I have a few friends who were given the title Grandmaster. Well, they give it to themselves, to be honest. And I was at a show, a Thai boxing show, refereeing, and I was standing with this chap, and he was with his wife. And I won't say his name, obviously. And I said, "Oh, hi," and just used his first name. And his wife turned around and said, "No, it's Grandmaster." And I was like, "Hey, man, I know, I taught this guy Muay Thai. Yeah. Come on, you know." And it's very I find it amusing, and I don't take it seriously. And I just think, okay, that's your thing. If that's what you want to do, that's cool. But I find it very odd because I was given this title once a few years ago at I was doing a seminar, and they presented me with this certificate, and my student was with me, and he said, I could see you wanting to make a joke of it, but the audience took it so seriously. I was like, okay, I'll just accept it. And then I went on Facebook with my private group of instructors, and I said, now you guys have all got to call me the Grand Master. So people take these things far too seriously. I'm sure Daniel McBain wasn't walking around going, look at me, I'm the great master, you know?
No.
You know, and I think you prove how good you are either as an instructor or a fighter by either competing or being a good instructor, you know, teaching. And I think you made the point there, being open-minded. And that's certainly something I found about the Cateran Society. I've made quite a lot of new friends that I wouldn't have otherwise made, which is, I think, the other aspect of martial arts that's forgotten. It's about, you know, making alliances and friends. I mean, you must have made a lot of friends over the years of very diverse types. I mean, Christopher Scott Thompson, for one. I mean, I remember him when he wrote his first Paladin book on Highland Broadsword, because I was writing something for Paladin at that time. And I thought, wow, this is really unusual. And I remember getting a copy of the book and having a sort of a play around with it. And then, of course, I got involved in other things, and the fact that Christopher Scott Thompson, who's this great author in most people's eyes, I guess, is so approachable that you can just email the guy and you'll strike up a friendship.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the great thing about it, isn't it? I think, to me, and I don't know what your feelings are on it, that I think this is the best part of doing a martial art, particularly a practical martial art. You know, building up that network, if you like, of people and friends, good friends as well, some of them become.
Yeah, absolutely. And think especially in the HEMA community, because we are growing, but we are still just a few compared to other martial arts. So if you want to go to a seminar, if you want to go to an event and meet people, you have to travel. Okay, so the internet, the rising of the internet was something that brought HEMA forward a lot, because we already had those pioneers, especially in the UK, pioneers like my friend Robert Brooks, who is one of the friends I made in my journey. He's a good friend, Robert Brooks from UK, or also Paul MacDonald in Scotland, and many others who were pioneers in the US and also in UK and other parts of the world. And but then the internet came and pushed it forward a lot, and there was exchange possible. And so you started to make friends. And I mean, if you take this big event in Chicago, the WMAW, I think it's the big HEMA event, or if you take in Austria the Drein event, which is the biggest German-speaking event. Also, it's international, but hosted by a German-speaking HEMA group from Austria. And I think these big events made it possible that people met from Australia, from the USA, from Italy, Spain, Russia, you name it. I think totally different parts of the world. And I mean, I was taking part, I think, 4 or 5 times, no, I think 4 times at the International Saber Symposium in Hamburg.
Okay.
Which was the first meeting for everyone who is enthusiastic with military swordsmanship, saber, spadroon, broadsword, and the like. And because back then the idea came up to have an event which was not only longsword, and maybe rapier. And oh, look, there's a little bit Bartitsu.
Okay.
So to get all the people interested in this kind of saber broadsword thing together, and it was a blast. So in the first one, there were instructors, and I say pioneers and really good people in their arts, like Andrew Brew from Australia, who came over, like the Syniawski family from Poland came over.
Oh.
And it was not only the instructors, it was also participants. So in the first ISS in Hamburg, there were people from the USA. They came all the way from the USA just to take part in this event. There were people from Italy and so on and so on. And this event also, it was growing. And I mean, you had people there. Paul Wagner came over from Australia one time. And this is really great. I mean, Paul Wagner, Stephen Hand, they travel all the way from Australia to the USA and Canada. And I don't think that they are paid a lot of money. I mean, they can maybe cover their travel costs, but it's all about the passion. And of course, friendship evolve, a lot of friendships. So I can honestly say I met great people who are, I would call them comrades or brothers and sisters in arms, but also some people who I really say, okay, these are friends. These are people, even though we cannot meet each other for a drink every night, but we can meet, thanks to the technology, we can meet online and we can have a chat. And we are not only chatting about swordsmanship, we are chatting about, hey, how are the kids and how are you? And how's the weather in Malta or whatnot,
And I bet the weather's much nicer in Malta than it is here at the moment. I don't know what Germany's like, but the UK is really bad at the moment.
In Germany, it's quite fresh, but not a lot of rain, so it's okay. I like this kind of weather, what I call my perfect Irish summer.
Okay.
Clouds, some wind, some sun, not too cold and not too warm, and sometimes a little bit of rain. I don't like the heat very much.
You mentioned Ireland there, obviously. Which do you prefer, the Ireland or Scotland?
Good question. I personally, I think I love them both because when we talk about the Highland Broadsword and the martial art, then the history of Ireland and Scotland is deeply connected. And also not to go too deep into that topic because I'm not an expert in Gaelic culture, but also the Gaelic history and culture of Scotland and Ireland is quite connected. And I mean, the whole of the British Islands, I mean, England, Wales, Scotland, Ireland, and so on and so on. It's of course, historically very connected. And even though it was not always good times, but for me as an outsider, I love the two connected islands all the same. So of course, I have most interest in Scotland and Scottish history, but I'm also quite interested in all things which have to do with Ireland and also with historical things that have to do with England. Like, of course, we have the Highland Broadsword, we have the Highland regiments within the British Army. So for me, it's as Chris Thompson defined it, the broadsword is the art of the three kingdoms, as he called it. So for me, I love them all.
I thought that's what you would say. It's just you mentioned the word Irish and Irish summer, because you know, I know what it's like to have a Scottish summer. I mean, I'm originally from the northeast of England, so I'm what you would call a Geordie. I don't know whether you've heard that term at all.
I heard it. Yeah.
So I like to pride myself. I say to people in England, I say, no, I'm not English. I'm not Scottish. I'm a Geordie. You know. So we're like a mix of crazy Englishmen and crazy Scotsmen.
So a little bit like the old border reivers, right?
Yeah, the border reivers. Yeah. Well, I mean, this is not about me, but I just quickly tell you.
Oh, totally.
It's a conversation. My father's mother were Wallaces, and because my grandmother was Scottish, and so there's a big tradition. Well, there was when my father was alive. New Year was a huge deal, you know. And I remember as a small child being forced to wear a kilt, which I quite like now, strangely enough. But it wasn't. My granny used to say, it's not one of those modern kilts, you know. It's a plaid. You have to wear a plaid, you know. And so we had to wear. Me and my brothers had to wear plaids, you know. And I bought my sons which they won't wear probably ever. But I've got two sons who are, they're men now. One's 41, the other one's 38. And I've got them a couple of Wallace plaids as well. And I contacted them and said, oh, I've got you guys a couple of plaids. And they were like, yeah, okay. A crazy father, you know. Yeah. Running around the house in a kilt, you know. But it gives you a sense
the best thing, it's the best thing you can wear.
Best thing ever. I mean, I've obviously you have something to do with Fandabi, you know, Fandabi Dozy.
Yeah, Tom.
Wilderness training. Yeah. And I've been following him. He seems like a really good guy. You have much of a connection with him?
Yeah, we connected when I gave him, you know, some YouTube comments.
Okay.
On some of his videos, and I was just offering, hey, if you have some questions, you know, just contact me and ask. I'm happy to help. And from there, also kind of an internet friendship evolved. And as you know, we were working on several video projects now together.
I saw that just recently. Yeah.
He's always, you know, picking my brain about the martial aspects of Highland history. And sometimes we come up with ideas together. So, for example, the Highland Dirk workout for which was created during the lockdown here in Germany.
Yeah.
He said, we need something people can train. I want to present a little bit of the Dirk, and then we were just using the video chat function, and I was setting up my camera in the garden, and I was showing him the movements and explaining. So this is also still a great tool in historical martial arts to exchange with the internet and using new tools like video chats and whatnot. And he does a great job. He has very interesting videos.
Yeah, I've done a lot of survival training in the past, and I used to take people down to Brecon Beacons, and I loved his approach to it because it's a sort of no bullshit approach. You know, he's blatantly not in it to make a lot of money, and it comes across that he actually loves what he does, which is really refreshing. Because when you go on YouTube to some of these instructional things, it's all about the deal. It's all about selling. You know, buy this, buy that, buy that. But he's just simply running a nice little business, and he's obviously very passionate about it. And I noticed over the past year or so, he's been getting more and more into the weapons and this sort of thing, which is great because it's the whole culture. So I think I was going to make contact with him and just have a conversation and maybe do a podcast with him, you know?
Yeah, you should. Absolutely.
Yeah. I like to do, you see, but when I started the podcast, Heiko, the idea was to get a diverse group of people on the podcast. It wasn't just going to be about Muay Thai or Eskrima. You know, I'm trying to bring in some old karate guys. And I mean, I was so pleased when you said you'd come on, because I didn't know, because I know what the Cateran Society is like, you know, quite humble. And I thought, ooh, can I ask? But I think it's important to keep the message alive that there's people out there actually just do this stuff because they love it. And Fandabi Dozy was one of them. I thought, wow. So I think I'll contact him today by email and just see if he'd like to do one. And you mentioned another name there, and the guy absolutely astounded me when I saw him online, and that was Paul McDonald. Okay.
Yeah.
And I was on the Cat's Paws online training that day. I don't know whether were you on that, Heiko? The Cat's Paw the McBain day.
No, I was not able to make it from the time. I was hoping that they would record all you know, speeches and online workshops what they did, but they only did it with Mark Donnelly's workshop or presentation of the Dirk, and then they send the link. So unfortunately, because of the time, I could not attend the whole day, and plans went crazy with family, so I could not really take part. But at least I saw the presentation of Mark Donnelly, who I also met at the ISS in Hamburg one time.
He seems like such a great guy, doesn't he?
He is absolutely a great guy.
They were drinking whiskey while they were making that video, and the pole in the hole. Do you remember on this video, the pole in the hole with the absolutely superb. Absolutely brilliant. That was a fantastic day. And Paul McDonald, I mean, all the speakers were great. There was a chap from Greece talking about Joseph Campbell's the myth behind the warrior. And whilst his English wasn't very good, what he was saying was so engaging. Everybody, I mean, it was a great day. I mean, I never moved from this room all day. My partner, she was like, "Are you going to get something to eat?" I said, "No, hang on. Paul McDonald's on. He's and he's getting all his weapons out." I mean, that was an incredible day. And we don't. Well, I tried to set a similar thing up online with Muay Thai and Eskrima and so on, and hardly any interest. It was. You know, and I said, it's free. I'm happy to bring speakers on and we'll do something. And it was like, no, I haven't got the time. I'm thinking, hang on, you're in lockdown. You're not going anywhere. And the number of excuses you get, you know. But those are the people who aren't really that keen, I guess, you know. I believe there was about 60, maybe 70 people on it at one point, actually taking, you know, listening and taking part. It was really a great group, a fantastic idea. And I mean, you were talking about all of these, you know, conferences and seminars that have been going on around the world. And of course, I've joined the Cateran Society at a time when we're in lockdown. I guess though, the future, you know, there's going to be more and more events once we come out of lockdown. Talking about the lockdown, how's that affected your training? Because it's certainly, I mean, I closed my gym and, you know, I just trained at home on my own really and did a little bit of online teaching. How's it affected what you're doing in terms of personal training and teaching and so on?
Yeah. So in terms of the Cateran Society online program, maybe you saw my post in the group where I said, people, HEMA people, and also many martial art people being like, oh no, lockdown, I have to train alone for myself. And, you know, we Cateran people, we are used to it.
That's what we've been doing.
That's what we are doing. So, I have to learn from videos and books. Oh, shocking. Of course, it affected my training here with my group because we had to close for, I think, 1 month and a half.
Okay.
Before we could go to training again. And then we were starting slowly because it's a private gym, and the owner said, sports is allowed again with all the hygiene and safety distance rules and only 2 people. And it said, okay, if I can go for a hike with someone all the day, I can also train with someone. So we were setting up like private lesson. I was saying, okay, I have time on this Saturday, this Saturday, you pick your date, and then we will do private training. So only 2 people.
Yeah.
In this time when we could not train, I was doing a lot of stuff at home for myself. So I was, you know, doing some projects I had to push to aside for a long time. Yeah. I was starting to read into more and more of small sword fencing because we just before the lockdown we started to, you know, playing around with small swords and sparring, and then starting to take it more seriously and starting to look into the manuals we have, for example, Donald McBain or Sir William Hope and so on. And I was using that time. But we have a training session in the Broadsword Academy Germany twice a week, every Thursday evening, every Saturday morning. Right. And in the days in between, so I would say there is no day passing where I don't pick up my sword and do a little bit. So if someone asks me how often you train, I can say for myself, I train like every day. So that was what I was doing during the lockdown. I was also starting to make some YouTube workouts with body weight exercises because I said, okay, now I have the time and to, you know, it's no sparring, so I can push myself a little bit harder, and following some much younger guys with much more muscles. But it was one very motivating video of a guy who does all this crazy body weight exercises, and he had the basic beginner's workout of, I think, 20 minutes or something. Okay. And every time when there was a break, this guy was lying down, no drop of sweat, and was making this, and you got this, and was motivating you. And I was standing in my living room like, yeah, I got this. Yeah. But, But what I really did was I used the time to bring forward my Highland dirk throwing project.
Right.
That was a very good time to go into my garden and use my garden and work on this project a lot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know for me, obviously my gym closed, but I could still go to the gym and train, you know, on my own. And now, in fact, last weekend, for the first time in about 5 months, I've managed to do some work with Steve, who's on the Cateran Society. He's one of my students, and so's Kay. You laugh, Kay Van Dam. Kay, great name, Van Dam. You know what I mean? I mean, the guy's a professor in biology. Okay, he's a very intelligent guy. He's not scared of anything. I mean, he's an academic, but he's not scared of anything physically. And he goes to the Yemen to do projects. I mean, what are you doing going to the Yemen at the moment? But he just gets on with it. He joined the Cateran Society, obviously I think just before the lockdown. So he was already back in Belgium at home and in total lockdown. And he said, can you help me online as well? Because you know a little bit more than me. And I said, well, I'll take you through what I know and hopefully you'll get you up to speed. So he said, why don't we face each other on the camera? So we're facing it. So we're doing doubling. We were doing a doubling exercise online. It was, but he trains every day. He's in the garden every day training, you know, and he as I say, he's fearless. We put him, his first fight was an inter-club competition. Still quite heavy, and people tend to get really stuck in. And bearing in mind, he was like 35, 36 years old. His opponent was 19, you know. So, you know, age is a big deal, isn't it? And I introduced him as the brother of Jean-Claude Van Damme. And the guy in the opposite corner, he went like this. He was like, shit, shit. And of course, and Kay beat him. And we reckon it was the psychology that won through, you know. The guy was already terrified. And afterwards, you know, Kay said, I can't even do the splits, guys. I can't even do it. I've only just started. But yeah, the lockdown period, I've actually been dragging my partner out into the garden with single sticks.
Ah, okay.
So,
yeah.
You know,
my kids had to do something too with me. Yeah.
Oh, you hit your children, dear?
No, I did not hit them. I let them hit me, or at least they tried.
So how old are your kids then?
My daughter is 7 and my son is 13.
Oh, okay. So yeah, 13. Yeah, so big guy. So you can. Yeah.
I realized when we, you know, when we are roughhousing, you know, I have a little bit of fun fight. Then I recognize I have to use more strengths now because he's growing and he's getting bigger and stronger.
Oh yeah.
Not as easy as it was before. Like, you know, take you.
No. Yeah, when they get to teenagers, they get a bit of an attitude as well, you know.
Yeah.
I'm the same with I've got 2 boys. Yeah, we're men now. And as they grew up, you could see they were vying for the position of control, you know, early on.
Yeah.
So I'm the alpha male. But I've got a grandson who I'm brainwashing into sword because just before the lockdown, he would come up from London where they live, and which is an hour and a half's drive. And I'd teach him Muay Thai because he wanted to learn Muay Thai with his granddad. And he saw the swords. Because I have Thai swords in the gym.
Yeah.
And he said, oh, because boys love swords. You know, people love swords.
Absolutely.
And so I was teaching him some krabi krabong, and I said, your granddad's doing Scottish swords. And he's like, oh. So I had him in the garden with a broadsword, which was far too heavy for him. You know? So he's now hooked on learning Scottish broadsword. Will you teach me Scottish broadsword? So he's 9 years old now. So you might find you get somebody who's about 9 or 10 joining the Cateran Society.
Yeah, I see.
No.
I when we make presentations at Highland Games, so local Highland Games, we always have a little bit of a fighting, you know, a fighting area, and we are doing some presentations and showing the people the martial art side of the Highland games.
Yeah.
And we often get kids attracted, of course.
Yeah.
And many parents come and ask if we have children's training, and we don't have it. And besides training my own children, I did not have any interest yet in training other children, also because of all this, you have to deal with the parents, you have a lot of responsibility, you have to, all things with insurance and whatnot. And I said, okay, if my son or my daughter will bring a friend of parents I know, so then we might do a little bit of children training, but not regularly. But I think broadsword is a good entry weapon for children. Maybe pirate movies are not so popular anymore, even though we have the Pirates of the Caribbean movies.
Oh yeah, which is great,
Yeah, but I think this is a good, like cutlass, saber, broadsword is a good entry-level weapon, because you can have single sticks, and there are also foam weapons you can use with children. And I know a friend of mine, he's also instructor for traditional Italian knife and stick fighting, and he does jiu-jitsu and MMA, and he's researching ancient pancration and whatnot. And he's also an instructor for Chanbara, and he did this Chanbara thing especially for the kids. And it's a great success. And he said, he was originally making it for the children, but many grown-ups are also interested in it, because it's just great fun. I'd use these Chanbara swords also, and it's great fun, to use them. So I think you can get children into swordsmanship, but you have to start it from another perspective than the grown-ups. So with the most grown-ups are hooked with HEMA because they loved swords as children. They are interested in history. And so you seldom have people who come with, I just want to learn how to fight with swords. No, most people are interested in, why are you doing Scottish swordsmanship? Because I love Scotland. I'm interested in the Highlands and, things like this. Or people who do German longswords say, I'm just interested in medieval times and knightly arts and whatnot. And I think there are not so many people who say, I want to train Montante because I want to defend myself on the streets against a couple of ruffians with my great two-handed sword. even though they can do it because they train it, that's not the reason why they come.
I think the local police might have something to say if you're walking around. I mean, Steve, the chap who's with the Cateran Society who trains with me, he was actually stopped in before the lockdown. He was coming up to train with me on a Sunday, and he got off the train, and the policeman stopped him and said, "What's in that bag?" Because he had a ski bag with synthetic broadswords, the synthetic broadswords. And they stopped him and said, "What's that for?" And the police were actually, he said they were quite worried about it. He said, "It's a training sword. You can damage somebody with that." He said, "Well, no, it hasn't got a point. It's just heavy plastic." And they were like really giving him they give him a hard time about carrying this weapon, even though it was concealed and stuff. And I was thinking, wow, I've walked down the street with a bag full of metal swords, oh my God. And when I go to do seminars, particularly edge weapon seminars, I'll have a bag full of knives, in the back of the car. I mean, you don't sort of really think, because the police get really worried about this type of thing. I suppose it's the same in Germany as well, I guess,
I had already several incidents with the police, but they were always relaxed, and it was always great fun, because when my brother and I started to train, we didn't have a gym. We were training outside every Sunday morning in a park, a beautiful park, which had some atmosphere. There was a music pavilion. So when it was raining, and we were training in the snow and the foggy weather, and it really had atmosphere. And one time a police car stopped, and we were at the moment training with fencing mask and with a Highland dirk, so aluminium knives, and they were stopping and just watching. And my brother said, like, "Here, look, the police watching." And I said, I was going with my aluminum knife in my hand, my fencing mask on, and was asking, "Can I help you, sirs?" And they said, no, we were just looking what you are doing. What are you doing? And then I said, yeah, we do historical martial arts. And they were quite interested.
Yeah.
Another time I was stopped in a regular police control. So they were picking out cars when I was on my way back from the training. Yeah, that, yeah, we're just doing regular, you know, can you show your papers and whatnot? And yeah, might you open your trunk? And I said, yeah, but I have a bag inside with training swords. Oh, training swords, let's have a look at that. And it was open, and there were blunt steel weapons and plastic weapons. And, you know, I have a big golf bag where I transport my swords, and the zipper I close with a little lock.
Okay, so it's locked.
So no one can say that I'm carrying the swords legally.
No.
Transporting them, and I have not quick access, so they are locked. So according to the law, that's okay.
That's okay.
As far as I can stand it. And he was also quite interested, asking, where do you train? What do you train? Though they were always interested from this more from this martial arts side. They wanted to know what are you doing? That's cool, because I think they realized, okay, this guy is harmless. It's just a crazy martial artist with a trunk full of swords.
A crazy man with a bag full of swords.
Yeah. And one time I came back from practice and just parking my car a little bit far away from my home. And I had my Scottish two-hander with me. The aluminium training version. And this does not fit in my bag. And normally I can directly park in front of my house. So I just open my trunk and carry it inside. And I mean, the neighbors already know me. They know sometimes he's packing his car full with crazy weapons. They know me, they know I'm harmless. And I was just, you know, taking my bag and having my sword over the shoulder and walking back. And then the police car stopped. And I can really imagine what these people, the police officers were thinking. They were thinking, okay, maybe we now have a big fucking problem. Or maybe this guy is completely harmless. And it was of course the latter, because they asked me, like, I think the question was quite weird. They asked, is this for private use? I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that means either. No, that's weird.
You know, I'm not beheading people professionally.
Like Highlander.
And I had
the only one.
I mean, it was like I could have all many, you know, really cocky, funny answers on that question, but I just was honest and no, this is just for training purposes, and it's not sharp. Don't worry, it's just aluminium. Okay. And where are you going now? And just park my car. I'm living here. I'm coming back from training. Okay. And now you go home. Yes, now I'm going home. And I think they watched me until I was in my.
I bet. Yeah. I was going to say, there can be only one.
Highlander. I mean, I totally understand it. I think I would not train in a public park anymore.
No.
With swords, because people are understandable insecure about you know, guys in black dresses having edged weapons with them. So I mean, it did not happen so much as in UK yet with terror attacks and whatnot. But I mean, we also have a lot of crime here, and we also had our share of terror attacks. And I think the people are more sensitive about it. And I can understand why. And so I respect that. And I also tell my guys, so if you want to train outside, do it somewhere where it belongs, or where you are not too much in public. No. So for example, when you go into an abandoned castle, which is open to the public, and you pick up swords and you train there, then the people are like, oh yes, this is a, you know, Renaissance fair, medieval guys, you know, playing knights, no problem at all. But when you're doing the same thing in a park, in a big crowded city, all the people are starting to scream, oh my God, he's
got a sword. He's got a sword. And I mean, I cannot imagine, because I mean, German police is still quite relaxed, and you can talk with them. They are very much about de-escalation. Okay, they don't, most of them don't want to have too much escalation. No.
But of course, they made their bad experiences too, like getting stabbed in a regular control of a person out of nowhere. So I think I would be quite careful and would be as much as relaxed as possible. And I think if someone trains outside, or the the advice I can give, if the police gets you, if you are getting into a control with your car on foot or something like that, I mean, make sure that you transport your weapons according to the laws of your country where you live in.
Yeah.
But when you are, when the police controls you, think about them. They are maybe much more scared and nervous than you, because they saw their share of shit already, maybe.
Yeah.
They see the situation different than you. So don't get pissed, don't get angry, just be relaxed, cooperate and explain to them what you are doing. So, and this worked for me every time. Every time I met the police, I was just, proactively explaining what I do. I knew what they were thinking. They saw me with a sword, and then I tell them, guys, this is only a training sword. It's made out of aluminium, so it's not sharp. You don't have to worry. So in that situation, you are the one to calm down the police.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, I think I've always worked on the premise that the police are stopping you for good reason. That's their job. That's what they're paid to do, to look after everybody. And by stopping you, if you give them attitude, you're going to get attitude back, I think. So I think the attitude you give them is a one of openness and like, look, this is what I'm doing. But you do get young guys who are very confrontational, oh, they've stopped me, yeah, that's their job. I try to explain this, that their job is to try and uphold the law and actually to protect you as well. They're trying to protect everyone. And it's a difficult, my son's an inspector in the Metropolitan Police, so my eldest son. So I've had lots of conversations with him about, issues around self-protection, what you can do within the law, how to transport weapons. But people tend to think, quite a few young guys particularly are almost like they blame the police for being there, But I think you made a good point. Don't have an attitude, just be nice. And the point you made about them probably being more afraid than you are, more nervous because of... Obviously, that police officer may have been in a fight with somebody with a knife or a sword recently, and he could be traumatized by it. So
I mean, we had I think it was last year or early in this year, there was someone attacking I think it was in Stuttgart. Someone was attacking another guy in broad daylight, killing him with a cheap samurai sword on the open street in broad daylight. I mean, you have to understand that not only people who saw that, but police officers who are trained to prevent such things to happen, if they see you running around with a sword or a sword-like object during the middle of the night, of course they would stop and ask you, what is the purpose of this thing? What are you doing here? And I think that's totally okay. That's totally okay. I can understand when people, police officers are humans too. I think there are also some rotten apples within the police, I guess, everywhere. And you will have someone who has a bad day or who's just an asshole. I mean, we have assholes everywhere. But even then, it's best to de-escalate the situation as good as possible. But I think in our case of historical European martial arts, because the only reason I think most of us will be stopped, if it's not just, regular picking out some cars randomly, will be because we carry big bags.
Yeah,
which could contain a rifle.
Absolutely.
Which could contain something for billiard. Or a fishing rod. It cocould contain anything, but of course, if you say there are swords inside, of course police officers want to have a look.
Of course they want to have a look. But as you say, I think like most people, when they see something like a historical weapon, they sort of go, oh, that's quite interesting. What's that about? I mean, I know when people come in my gym and they see the Thai swords, the dab and the plong and the gao and the different weapons of Krabi Krabong, the first thing they do is not, oh, that's dangerous weapon. They go, oh, wow, where does that come from? What's that? How do you use that? I think it's always been the same. And like you say, if the police stop, you just be open and honest with them. And usually you don't have I've never had any problems personally. because I just go, I'm sorry, how can I help you? You know, show them my hands. How can I help you? What's in the bag? Okay, there you go. This is what I do for a living. Oh, and then as you say, people are interested. Then they say, oh, so where do you teach? Where do you, you know? I've had a police officer join my club because he saw my training bag. He said, so what do you do? And I go, martial arts. Which one? Yeah. Oh, I've always been interested in that. Do you teach weapons? Yeah, I do. Yeah. Oh, wow. So that's good. Well, can you believe it? We've been on over an hour now, Heiko.
Already?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. What I wanted to do, I don't know whether you're up for it. I hope you are, because I want to talk about the weapons next. But obviously, we've sort of ran out of time. Yeah. Obviously, I know you've got a job and you've got other responsibilities. But if we could set up another time to do a second one, how would you feel about that? Because I'd like to talk about the swords and the weapons themselves and the various systems. You know, we've learned a lot about you and who you are and how you tick, and or not. You know, at the beginning of the video, you showed me the Angelo broadsword. Yes, you know, the Bellfire one. Oh, 12 months I've been waiting for mine. 12. My partner said, "What's this other sword you've got coming?" Because I now have a collection of about, including all the Thai weapons, about 14, 15 swords now. Okay. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 broadswords now. And of course, you know, every time there's a long parcel comes to the house, she'll go, what's this?
Yeah.
Another broadsword.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you found the Angelo broadsword. I mean, it got really good reviews, which is why I ordered it last year. You know, and is it as good as you say it is?
Yes, I honestly can say that because I mean Chris Adams of Balefire Blades, we met at the historical fencing event in Malta, and we were having a great time with a lot of drinks and good food and chatting and having workshops and also having a nice bout with saber and broadsword in a fortress in Malta. Yeah. And back then he was an apprentice of Marco Danelli, the swordsmith.
Right. Okay.
And he was telling me about training broadswords and everything, and I said, yeah, maybe you can make me one. And he said, yeah, when I'm finished my apprenticeship, when I have my own workshop, then I can do. And when he finished, and he approached me like 2 years later and said, so now we can do a training broadsword. And he said he want to make a standard weapon. So he asked me, so please, you are the guys who train it the most, you have a lot of people training worldwide, what do the people need? And so we were exchanging ideas, and the idea was to create a broadsword which would be not too cheap, but which can last long. So it has a historical look, but and it has also there's a historical original where this basket hilt is basing on, I think, 2 different designs coming into this, and honestly, I can say I really like it. So the prototype was already good. The prototype looked a little bit different, but the prototype was already good. He said, yeah, this is a sword you can sell. This is totally okay. Yeah. But now with the improvements, for me, for the way we train, it's perfect.
Yeah.
What I really like about it is that the blade is a little bit more like a backsword blade. So we were very much focusing on regimental broadswords from the 750s to 770s. So more regimental style, because we wanted to have a broadsword which will focus on that, what the people learn first, the regimental style of Angelo, Matthews and Rovers and so on. Yeah. So it is a double-edged blade, so you can turn it, but from the design, it's a little bit more narrow, like a backsword.
Okay. Yeah.
And the blade is in the thrust flexible enough, but in the parry, it's stiff enough. Okay. And this basket hilt, I think, will survive everything. It's like a tank.
It looks like it's been in a bit of action.
Yeah, it has already action, but these are just, scratches.
Yeah, you can see.
It's, it's nothing bad. Also, the blade is not really damaged, and we did a lot of sparring already with that. And the first weapons I had experience with were the armor class broadswords.
Oh, I've got an armor class.
Yeah, and armor classes are really good broadswords. For historical fencing, they are already quite good. But what we realized in the examples we had in hands and the ones some of my guys had was that the blade, when you have there, not the reenactment blade, but the so-called semi-sharp or historical fencing blade,
yeah,
the blades become quite wobbly, quite flexible. Okay. And this can be an issue when you fence against another armor class sword. This is not a problem at all. But if you fence against a sword with a stiffer blade, and for example, come with a cut number 1 and you're doing an inside guard, and the stiffer blade just breaks your parry.
Right.
Because it bends. I mean, if you, the armor class we had, if you put a rubber tip on the point to make it safer for thrusts, you can see how the blade hangs down a little bit.
Oh, okay.
From the weight of this, because it's very flexible. And this is the so-called semi-sharp blades they have for historical fencing purposes. When you order them on their website, you have only sharp.
That's right.
Reenactment, yeah. But if you tell them I need a sword for historical fencing, they will make something in between. And as I said, for my taste, if you have a backsword blade, it's not an issue. With a backsword blade, that's okay. But with a double-edged blade, with a broadsword blade, these can be a little bit too wobbly, a little bit too flexible. And this was something we were concentrating here to say, okay, we want to have a blade which is safe enough, but still stiff enough.
Yeah.
And the other important thing was to have a basket hilt which will last long, because the broadsword is next to a rapier for sure the weapon in historical fencing which is the most expensive to get, because complex hilts are always expensive.
Yeah, of course.
It's always, I mean, it's a lot of work.
A lot of work, yeah.
Of course, you can also buy a very expensive longsword or a very expensive messer, but you can have already good ones for training purposes on a basic level for not too much money. But if you want to have a Highland broadsword and the basket hilt is not only decoration, but really survives contact,
strong,
then you have to invest some money.
Oh, no, yeah.
So, and then and if I invest some money into a broadsword, I want to have a basket hilt which is not dented, or cracked after 2 years of use. Okay, it's okay if this happened a little bit, but this was the main thing. And Chris did a great job to provide these two things: a good blade for training and a solid, robust basket hilt. And still, it's quite wieldy. It's quite well balanced to be used in sparring. It's not too light and it's not too heavy.
Yeah, it's because of the review that I immediately contacted Chris and said, I want to order. And he said, I've got loads of orders at the moment. Which is great. It's a good sign, isn't it? When somebody is so busy that they have to fit you in. And, whilst I'd love to have got it quicker than I did, I mean, I'm still happy to wait 12, it's 12 months. And he's really good customer service, because he let me know that he said, I'm quenching 5 blades today. So he said, and I'll be working on the hilts later on in the week. I'm thinking, yes.
Yeah, he's keeping you updated. He's keeping.
He does. Yeah.
If he says, I think I'm ready in 2 weeks, then you can say, okay, he will be ready in 2 or maybe 3 weeks. So he's not like, give me 2 more. And then a month later you don't hear anything. No. If you say it's 2 weeks, then maybe it's 2 or 3 weeks to wait, and then you will get it.
The thing is, Heiko, I'm used to dealing with Thai people, and they're terrible. The Thais will say, I will see you at 8:30. Okay, 8:30. So everybody turns up at 8:30. The Thais turn up at 10:30. It's the same. I ordered swords from Thailand. They said, about 4 weeks. The swords are all ready. We have them. About 4 weeks delivery. Oh, no, okay. 10 weeks later, 12 weeks later, a year later, and they've got them. They go, we forgot to send them. Oh, okay. I think, that these people are honest, and that, particularly Chris. I mean, the fact that the review was so good, I thought, well, I'm happy to wait. And the fact that they do keep in touch. And the other company was Cateran Armory in Russia. Oh, they were really good. I mean, above and beyond. And they got me an Eastern Saber, Mark III Saber, and I got it. They had it ready for me within about 6 to 8 weeks, I think. But it was the Russian Postal Service that slowed it down.
Yeah.
You know, but he did warn me. He said, look, the Postal Service is terrible in this country. I'm so sorry. Just let me know when it arrives. And I don't know whether you've got one of the Eastern Sabers, but that's beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah, I love Eastern Sabers. I love Polish saber fencing a lot.
Yeah,
As I said, I already met the Siniewskis, and I really appreciate their work on Polish saber.
Incredible.
I was also interested in Polish saber a bit because a grandmother of mine, she was from Poland. So I have a little bit of family roots.
Yeah.
And actually, my wife is from Poland.
Okay.
So I always have a connection to Poland. And I love Polish saber and also Hungarian saber, also Eastern saber, also because this kind of saber fencing had a great impact into swordsmanship in the 18th century in Europe.
Yeah.
I mean, it's no wonder that, for example, Rowers, I think he says that he is combining the Austrian saber methods and the Highland broadsword in his system. And the Austrian saber methods are, as of course, influenced by Hungary and by Poland, by the Eastern saber. Or like Angelo, who has his manual Highland and Hungarian broadsword.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Also, it might have been a little bit of advertising to say I take the two most exotic parts of the modern army of the back of the day, so like the Highland regiments and the Hungarian hussars, which look very exotic. And put them into one manual, but you can see the manual has obviously the influence of saber fencing styles from the eastern and southern east of Europe. So I really like them. And I have also a training weapon from Cateran Armory. I ordered their small sword. The first version, which I really like. And funny thing is, the postal service in Russia was quite quick.
Oh, okay.
But German post service and a postal service, and also this custom service, so you have to pay some extra money for shipping something.
I know
that was really they lost the package, literally lost it, and could not tell me where it is, and it was going back and forth, and I was paying the post office for their service to do all the custom service, but I still have to do some phone calls to get this package, and then I had to pay a fee for all the work they did not do, which I had to do myself.
Which you paid for.
Yeah.
The thing is, once it's in the hands, the armorer finishes the job, and it's a great job, and then the postal service just mess it up,
Yeah.
And, I've had that. I really had problems with Russian postal service, but Cateran Armories were really good. They were like, we're so sorry. I said, look, guys, it's not your fault. I appreciate the fact you're keeping in touch with me. I will let you know when
service.
And when it came, I was so pleased with it. It balanced just the workmanship. You know what I'm talking about. It's just, there's a lot of effort gone into making it how it should be, really. And I've got the Mark III, which is, I've got the back strap on it, and it's just so beautiful. I just want to hit somebody with it now. And it was my birthday last week, and I got my mother-in-law to buy me a fencing helmet.
Very good. So
I've got myself a really good
congratulations.
Helmet now. So I've got all the equipment, all the kit, but no idea.
I think you're already progressing quite good in the program. So I think you already have quite good form.
Yeah, I've got a problem with, this is not an excuse, and I don't want it to be taken as such, but I've got spinal stenosis, really bad arthritis in my spine and my left hip.
Yeah, you told me,
because of martial arts.
Yeah.
So it does get me, I'll be perfectly honest with you, I get really infuriated with myself because I think I should be doing this. I should be able to move better. But I think Paul Wilkinson's suffering the same problems. And I said to Paul, private messaged him and said, look, mate, just keep at it. Don't stop. Don't let the pain put you off. If you really want this, you'll just keep doing it. I'm still teaching Muay Thai, and I shouldn't really be. And when I finished the session, my partner looks at me and said, what have you been doing? You know, so, but when you love something, and you know, I'm not just saying this, I really love the HEMA stuff. I wish I'd got into it when I was sort of, you know, 18, not 62 years old, getting into. So, you know, my friends, I mean, my neighbor thinks I'm crazy. A couple of years ago, when I started going through the stuff from the Cateran Society, and I was in the garden, and he could hear this thing going, and he looked over the fence and he went, "Oh my God, he's got a sword. What are you doing?" And I said, and I'm like a big kid, Heiko. I'm like, I get really excited about things. And I'm like, I said, "Oh, I've taken up Scottish broadsword. Come here, come here." He said, "Oh, can I have a look?" Of course, he's a typical man. He wants to play with the sword. And I said, "No, hold it like this, stand like this." No, I just want to wave it around. And then, of course, the guys in the gym saw how keen I was. And some of them have gone, "Oh, okay. Can you show me a little bit?" And I said, "Well, I don't know whether." That's when I think I said to you online, you know, is it okay for me to teach a couple of the guys, sort of thing? Because you know, as an instructor in martial arts, I don't want to be seen as some sort of like, you know, you come along and you think you know it all. You know, it's like, you know, I want to learn the system correctly and then pass it on, and get the guys to have the same passion I've got for it. And I've got a nice little group of guys who've joined the Cateran Society now. You know, I'm sort of, I know it's more work for you, so I do apologize.
No, not a problem at all.
but you know, I see a small group of guys, and we're going to get together once all of the lockdown restrictions are finished, and we're going to have a little session together, and then you know, keep it going, keep the message flying along. Well, look, we've done nearly an hour and 20 odd minutes now. So what we'll do, let's at the next session, let's talk about the swords, the weapons, the different styles, I think, and have a really nice chat. I mean, absolutely. I just want to thank you for your time, Heiko. I know you're a busy man, you've got a job and kids and stuff, so I do appreciate, you know, giving up the time to talk to me and to the wider audience. So I'll say goodbye and sign off for today and book you for part 2.
Yes, of course. Would be my pleasure. I really enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thanks, Heiko.
Okay, bye.
Bye.